Good afternoon. I'd like to tell you how thrilled I am to welcome you to the 4th annual welcoming ceremony for the first year class of the College of Law at the University of Saskatchewan. As you can hear, they're champing at the bit. This ceremony has from the beginning been sponsored by the Calgary law firm of Burnett, Duckworth and Palmer, LLP, and we're very grateful to them for their support. So I wonder if I could ask you to stand while we welcome our first year students. Please be seated. We're going to try and make them go everywhere in alphabetical order from now on, so we'll see how that works. I'd like to welcome our students, faculty, staff, our distinguished alumni, our honored guests, and particularly our first-year class of students this afternoon. We're very excited to have you here to help us welcome this first-year class. And I know that if you look at them, you can see what an exciting prospect this is. Here they are, all eager, fresh-faced, as they enter into their legal studies. And we're very delighted to welcome them to the college and, in some cases, welcome them to the University of Saskatchewan. As you'll hear when they introduce themselves, they come from all over the country, not just normal places like Alberta, but Nova Scotia, the Yukon, Quebec. We have a student body reflecting a wide geographical range. And they have exceptionally interesting backgrounds. We have people who have had careers as journalists, as members of the Canadian Forces, in health sciences. We have people who have traveled widely, who have written, who have academic achievements, and we have many members of this class who have been volunteers in a variety of organizations. So we're looking forward to getting to know them better as they get settled in the College of Law. This ceremony is a ritual that is intended to mark their beginning of a new intellectual journey as law students. And we hope that this journey for them will be transformative and enriching, as it has been, I think, for many of our alumni. Part of the ceremony you will find includes the statement by the students of a first-year commitment, a student commitment. And this commitment is drawn from the university's Learning Charter, which was formulated in 2010 to define aspirations and obligations about the learning experience that the University of Saskatchewan aims to provide. And you will see in your program that in addition to the student commitment, there is a commitment from the institution and a commitment from the faculty of the college to carry out obligations to support students as they move forward in their studies. We're not asking the university or the faculty to recite their commitment this afternoon, but I assure you, members of the faculty and members of the institution at large are aware of the Learning Charter and are committed to the objectives in it. But you will hear the students later on recite their own student commitment, which outlines their role as a student in the College of Law and as someone who is beginning their study towards whatever legal career they ultimately choose to pursue. I would like to acknowledge that we are standing on the traditional territory of Treaty 6 and the home of the Métis Nation. And I would like now to introduce you to Maria Campbell. Maria is going to provide us with a welcome and blessing this afternoon. Maria is a Métis author, playwright, broadcaster, filmmaker, elder, activist, volunteer, advocate, and she has 3 honorary degrees from the University of Regina, York University, and Athabasca University. She sits as an elder on the Saskatchewan Aboriginal Justice Commission, and she's a member of the Grandmothers for Justice Society. And I'm pleased to say that the College of Law has been developing a relationship with Maria. Last year, she provided support to our students in the inner city clinic with which the law school is connected. So I'm delighted that Maria is able this afternoon to be with us. And I am presenting Maria with gifts of tobacco and ribbon as she starts her welcome.
Thank you, Beth. And I would like to say hello to all of you and to welcome you to this beautiful place. And I just wanted to say that these are the 7 colors, the 7 that represent the 7 teachings in our traditions. And this one is the polka dot that represents the first grandmother. And the first grandmother is the keeper of the laws. And so I just wanted to say that she was the one that everybody came to in olden times. And so I want to acknowledge the ancestors of this land and ask all of you, in whichever way you speak to the great mystery, to put our minds and our hearts together to ask for blessing for the students, that their road will be a good one and that it won't be that difficult and all the profs will be just wonderful and give them great marks. I'm going to do the blessing in Cree. Aukiu makati pechagin, irnaskum dan, igo chemioasikumak, matsun kapeawihiak, irnaskum dan igo chemioasik aski, emioasik kisigal. Kwetimten kawichihiak akio, kamama wichiha akoko kapetohteche kapek snamasotik. Haun gawiaski kistamina kirnaskumten. Pewi tapnan, pewi jihinan. Haun nohkum notago atayokan, kioma wiasweo nakakanuihtaman. Kistamina kwetimten, pewi tapmia, kawi jihatikoka kio. Haun mosoma kanewa pie kistoamina kirnaskumtnao. Pewi jihinan kimiasika, skohtemaga pepihtagoya. Hau katipetsikein nohtawi kirnaskumten. Timagimnan. Hey. Thank you.
As I said to you earlier, Burnett, Duckworth and Palmer LLP have been supporters of this ceremony since the beginning. And we're very pleased this afternoon to have Grant Vogelai QC, who's a partner at Burnett, Duckworth and Palmer, to bring greetings. Grant is a graduate of this college. He reminded me just before the ceremony started that he was in my first ever class in torts. So I'm not sure how that worked out for him, but he seems to have survived. He's represented clients at all levels of court in Alberta and Saskatchewan, as well as the Federal Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court of Canada. He's served as counsel, arbitrator, and mediator, and he's deeply involved in his community as a volunteer. So I'd like to welcome Grant.
Thank you, Beth. I was saying, as we spoke in advance, that it was 36 years ago in 1979 that we first met here with Beth as a fresh-eyed professor and me a fresh-eyed student. And being back here just brings back such great memories. So it is truly my honor to be here to this great institution, to bring greetings on behalf of my firm, Burnett, Duckworth and Palmer in Calgary. I'm glad that Beth described that as a normal place to be from. As I say, I have such great memories here. I cherish everything about what this legal education that I received here has done for me. I still really enjoy practicing law. and I sincerely value how my legal education has changed the way I see the world. That there's always more than one way to see everything. You will listen to many speeches today and many more before you're done law school. You will almost certainly not remember what I say today, but your overall experience at law school will shape your perspective on the world, on how you think. This ceremony marks the entry into the legal profession, all that it provides and all that it demands. I would like to give you just one piece of advice for your journey in law and in life. That advice is to define what success means to you personally and never to stop striving to achieve your personal success. This sounds easy, and for some of you it may be, but for most of us it's very difficult. I think it's difficult to define our own success because there are so many influences telling us what to do, how to do it, and what success is. Parents, professors, peers, social media. With all of these influences, it's hard to know what we personally think, even what we personally like, what we really want. Society seems to define success as getting good marks, getting a good job, making lots of money, going on cool holidays, and then putting it all on Facebook or Instagram to show everybody. That's certainly not success for everyone. And I challenge you to think about your own success. As you go through law school and beyond, try to figure out what you enjoy and what you value. Do and pursue those things, and that will make you successful. Don't be one-dimensional, caught on the legal or law school treadmill. Pursue other interests and relationships. Have some fun. Your generation thinks differently. Embrace that. Do things your way. Respect traditions, but don't get stuck in the rut of convention. Think about how you can do things differently and better. Embrace change. Now, it's funny that I say that because in many ways I've not embraced change, and I'm stuck in that rut. For example, I'm working off of handwritten notes with a fountain pen. Some old habits die hard. But in other ways, I've really tried to live out what I've told you. So use the way you learn to think to define what success means for you both professionally and personally. Use the way you learn to work hard in law school so that you never stop striving to achieve your success. Congratulations on your admission to law school. It's the start of a great lifelong journey. I encourage you to make the destination of that journey your personal success. Thank you.
Now I'd like to ask Brenda Hildebrand, QC, who is the president of the Law Society of Saskatchewan in 2015, to bring you greetings from the Law Society. Brenda received her law degree from this university and a master's in law, in health law, from Osgoode Hall Law School. Brenda is a sole practitioner. The focus of her practice is on health law and estate administration, and she practices in Saskatoon. She became a bencher of the Law Society, which is a member of the governing body of the Law Society, in 2013, and this year she's serving as the president.
Thank you. Dean Bilson, distinguished members of the judiciary, honored guests, and most important of all, today's students. It is my privilege, on behalf of the Law Society of Saskatchewan, to congratulate you and wish you the best as you embark on your legal education and as you make your commitment today. I had the honor of meeting some of you and participating in your orientation session just a couple of weeks ago in a panel looking at the past, the present, and the future of the legal profession. At that time, we noted, as you have just heard, that it's a very exciting time to be entering the profession because things are changing. And the options for the structures in which you may practice law just a few short years from now are more diverse than they were when many of us graduated. And although the profession is beginning to embrace change, there are some things that cannot change, for they are the essence of what it means to be a lawyer and to be part of a self-governing profession. Now, perhaps it was your young enthusiasm and the newness of the orientation session and everything, but it caused me, in preparing for today, to take a little bit of a look at history. The Law Society of Saskatchewan was established in 1907. So I took a look at the book published to celebrate our 100th anniversary in 2007, and that was Ian Menteplay's book, A Century of Integrity. And a phrase in that book caught my attention. The characteristics distinguishing a self-governing body relate to the unique skills and abilities of the profession, as well as a conscience to place the client's situation above the profession's interest. A conscience. The dictionary tells us that that's the inner sense of what is right or wrong in one's conduct or motives, impelling one toward right action. Or the complex of ethical and moral principles that controls or inhibits the actions or thoughts of an individual. Or an inhibiting sense of what is prudent. That first element, again, was an inner sense compelling one toward right action. As the regulatory body for the profession, the Law Society of Saskatchewan has a code of professional conduct. And I know that, at least in an upper year class, you're going to take a good hard look at that code. In the preface, it states, this code creates the rules and their interpretation intended to provide a framework within which a lawyer will fulfill his or her core duties of integrity, competency, and loyalty. In some respects, this code articulates aspirations consistent with the importance of the lawyer's role, serving clients and the administration of justice. This code also articulates standards of conduct for which lawyers are held strictly accountable. It goes on then to talk about the responsibility and authority to regulate lawyers that's been delegated to the Law Society, and that power is always to be exercised in the public interest. As benchers, or directors if you like, if you're not familiar with the bencher term, one of our responsibilities is the discipline of members who have breached the standards of conduct. There are times in the context of discipline when we encounter individuals who seem to lack insight into the role and responsibility that's required of a lawyer, or we encounter those who unfortunately repeatedly practice so close to the line that they have a tendency to step over into what the Legal Profession Act calls conduct unbecoming a lawyer. We find ourselves sometimes asking, why is that? They have the rules, they have the code of conduct. But perhaps what is missing is that inner sense of duty, that conscience. The preface to the code also recognizes this need for internalization. The code is intended to articulate those immutable ethical principles that assure a philosophy where the legal profession is dedicated to the high standards of ethical behavior that are required. A philosophy, a conscience, an inner sense, an internalized core commitment to integrity. That goes way beyond merely following external rules. Mahatma Gandhi put it very well when he said, the human voice can never reach the distance that is covered by the still small voice of conscience. Today's ceremony is designed as a reminder not only of the commencement of your legal education, but a reminder of the responsibilities you are taking on, are cloaked with, if you like, as you enter the legal profession. My hope for you is that it will not merely be an external exercise, but rather a deep-seated commitment, settled within your own conscience, to live and practice with integrity, able to listen to that still small voice of conscience, and that it will not only begin today, but will continue for each one of you through long and very successful careers in this amazing profession. Best wishes to all of you.
Thank you, Brenda. In addition to a wonderful relationship with the Law Society of Saskatchewan, the College of Law enjoys a very warm relationship with the courts in Saskatchewan. And that's evidenced today by the presence of judges from 2 levels of court and a letter that I have been asked to read you from the Chief Justice of Saskatchewan, who was unable to be here today, the Honorable Robert Richards. So here is his letter, and this is for the first-year class. Every day and in every corner of the world, lawyers are doing important work. They defend the innocent and safeguard their rights. They build and maintain the institutions and relationships which allow economies to run. They help people to arrange their family and personal affairs. They vindicate constitutions. They negotiate treaties. They put dangerous people in jail to protect society. At every turn, they are intimately involved in making communities work. And lawyers make these contributions in all sorts of different contexts, in private practice, in government, as employees of companies and NGOs, and in academia. In big ways and in small, lawyers are on the front lines of the ongoing struggle to protect liberty, to ensure justice, and to promote social order and harmony. By deciding to enter law school, you have elected to become part of this great tradition and to follow in the footsteps of some of the history's most remarkable men and women. Abraham Lincoln was a lawyer. Mahatma Gandhi was a lawyer. Sir John A. Macdonald was a lawyer. Nelson Mandela was a lawyer. Hillary Clinton is a lawyer. Iranian Nobel Prize winner Shirin Ebadi is a lawyer. None of that is by accident. Law and lawyers are at the center of things. Over the next 3 years, you will learn about the fascinating project we call the law. How is it that our society orders the relationships among its members and between its members and the state itself? How and why are people held to their agreements? What are the limits on what the state can do to fight crime and terrorism? What principles govern the operations of executive government? How were all these rules established? And so on and so on. Lecture by lecture, course by course, and year by year, you will acquire an understanding of the rules and systems that make our world run. And over your time at the College of Law, you will also learn about the fundamentally important things that make lawyers different from plumbers or investment bankers or farmers. The things that brand a lawyer as a special kind of professional. You will learn about ethical standards. You will learn what it means to be an officer of the court. You will learn about solicitor-client confidentiality and about the depth of a lawyer's duties to his or her clients. You will come to understand that work in the law is shot through with considerations of honor and obligation. I have no doubt that your program of study at the college will be a demanding one. It used to be said that in first year you were scared to death, in second year you got worked to death, and in third year you got bored to death. Of course, that was never really true, and I know it's not true now, but you will be challenged by law school. You will work hard, and you will learn new ways of looking at the world and of analyzing problems. As Professor Kingsfield said in The Paper Chase, you come into the law school experience with a skull full of mush and you leave thinking like a lawyer. Your professors will give you an intellectual toolkit that will serve you for the rest of your professional lives, no matter what career paths you choose to take. Please accept my very best wishes for success and satisfaction in your studies. You will be tested in the days ahead, but I know that just like those who have gone before, you will be up to the challenge. These next 3 years will be memorable and they will mark you for life. Enjoy them and take from them all that you can. Next, I would like to call on the Honorable Madam Justice Gwen Gable to bring greetings from the Court of Queen's Bench. Madam Justice Gable received her Bachelor of Laws from the University of Saskatchewan in 1993, and she was a partner with Robertson Stromberg LLP in Saskatoon, where she's practiced law since 1994. And the main focus of her practice was family law. Madam Justice Gable was appointed to the Court of Queen's Bench for Saskatchewan in April 2014.
Dean Bilson, distinguished faculty, Chief Judge Plemmel, distinguished guests and students, friends, and family, I am honored to bring greetings and congratulations on behalf of Chief Justice Popescu and all the justices of the Court of Queen's Bench for Saskatchewan. When he first asked me to address you today, I reflected on where I was at 2 weeks into my first year of law school in September 1990, 25 years ago. And my first recollection was that I found the entire process quite humbling. I recall quite vividly being overwhelmed by what seemed like a completely different language that was being spoken. And to be transparent, for the first 2 weeks, I clutched my Black's Law Dictionary, being sure I was only moments away from someone tapping me on the shoulder to explain there'd been this unfortunate error, and I was not supposed to be there after all. Well, that didn't happen to me, and I can assure you it is not going to happen to you. You are supposed to be here. You've earned an opportunity that few people are given. It is an opportunity to learn the law and ways to apply it to help solve problems and advance justice. Look around at your fellow students today. You will be legal counsel for the situations to come. You'll be advocates, mediators, and peacemakers. You will be business owners, policymakers, professors, political leaders, authors, and judges. You will question assumptions and imagine new approaches to resolve problems. You will use your influence to better your communities, and you are the future of the legal profession. My second recollection of law school, as someone who was not from Saskatoon and had no family or friends in the city, was the immediate connection I felt to the camaraderie at the College of Law. It was a very different experience than I had had in my undergrad degree. I was quickly drawn into a study group involving a bunch of quirky students from across the country who were in a similar situation, and if you've ever seen the show Community, you'd have a pretty good reflection of what we were like. Throughout law school, we studied together, we socialized together, we laughed together, and we grew together. I have wonderful memories of law school, and some of the relationships I forged are still the closest friends that I have. I know you as well will find the College of Law to be more than another building at the U of S. It's a place where you will collaborate with your fellow students and with faculty from different backgrounds, who are different ages, who have had different life experiences. It is a place where you will be given the freedom and opportunity to discuss and examine challenging problems, and a place where you will also be able to socialize, laugh, find community, and encouragement. My third reflection that I remember vividly about first year at the College of Law is that I discovered a whole new fascination for movies and television programs involving lawyers. For me, it was LA Law. For you, it's probably Suits. Unfortunately, you may find that your tolerance for such entertainment dwindles over time, particularly when it becomes impossible to overlook the inadmissible evidence and inappropriate arguments being advanced during trials. A word of advice, keep your objections to yourself. You don't have to ruin the program for your friends and family. But on a serious note, as someone who had no family who were lawyers, I was a completely blank slate when it came to knowledge about the legal profession. My view at that time had been formed by media and pop culture. The more I learned about lawyers and the legal profession, the more I discovered there was a disconnect between the function that lawyers truly serve and how they're perceived by the public. If it hasn't already started, you can expect the lawyer jokes to start rolling in. And I encourage you to develop a thick skin. But I also encourage you to focus on the honorable and critical role that lawyers play in our society and be ready to remind people of that role. For every instance of a lawyer behaving less than admirably, there are many, many untold stories of lawyers giving their all to see that justice and fairness prevail, and those lawyers who work with unimpeachable integrity. Be confident that the legal profession is a profession of honor and integrity. So in closing, you are embarking on an amazing journey. You have wonderful opportunities ahead of you, and there is no doubt in my mind that you will make a significant contribution to society in ways that we cannot even predict. Ideas will change, laws will evolve, and access to justice will be improved because of you. and your efforts. So on behalf of the Justices of the Court of Queen's Bench, congratulations on reaching this wonderful milestone in your life.
Now I'd like to call on the Honourable Chief Judge James Plemmel to bring greetings from the Provincial Court of Saskatchewan. Chief Judge Plemmel is also a graduate of the college. He articled in private practice in Saskatoon and then went to L'Orange to work for legal aid for a period. He joined the Saskatchewan Public Prosecutions Division in 1979 and later became the Regional Crown Prosecutor for the Saskatoon Prosecution District. He was appointed to the bench in 2009 and became a resident judge in Wynyard until the fall of 2014, when he was appointed to be Chief Judge of the Provincial Court.
Thank you, Dean Bilson. Justice Gable, professors, lawyers, law students, especially the first-year law students, family and friends. We didn't have a nice ceremony like this when I started law school, and I have to say it's a wonderful setting and a very wonderful ceremony. On behalf of the Provincial Court judges, there's 49 regular sitting judges, I bring congratulations to the first-year law students on achieving their dreams to begin the study of law at the University of Saskatchewan. They have chosen a first-rate college of law. A few years ago, I was fortunate to spend a week at the college. I was very impressed with the level of camaraderie and the commitment to academic excellence demonstrated by faculty and students alike. It is no wonder that so many of our graduates have gone on to contribute greatly to communities large and small, not only in our province, but in our country and around the world. Law touches every area of our lives, and the students here today, the first-year students, are about to embark on that great study, which has a profound effect on everyone. Since graduating from the college here in Saskatoon in 1974, I have visited about 25 or 30 countries. And sometimes I've stayed in those countries for an extended period of time. I have often wondered why people in so many other parts of the world wish to live in what we call the Western world, of which Canada is a part. When we speak of Canada, some may think it's because we have natural resources which provide wealth and stability. However, that cannot be the reason, since citizens of so many other countries with similar natural wealth seek to leave theirs. And I can also assure you that 40 below winters is not a drawing card. So what is it then? More and more, I'm coming to the conclusion that it is the rule of law which attracts people here. The rule of law protects our democratic institutions and freedom of speech. That is why we live in a relatively peaceful society. It is not that we don't have conflict. We do. Rather, we have the legal means and legal structures in place to resolve conflict peacefully. If I am correct, then as law students and later as lawyers, you will directly contribute to this peaceful society. In studying and practicing law and in protecting the rule of law, you will maintain and improve our country and our legal system, which is envied by people around the world. Those are the expectations which have been placed on jurists and alumni who have graduated before you, and they are being placed on you now. This is a day of celebration, and I don't want to get too serious, but I just will close in saying there is much to be done. Lawyers provide important service to individuals and institutions, large and small. You will be called upon to assist them to act within the law. You will be called on occasion when someone has breached the law. You will be called on to mediate and resolve conflict in our society. In pursuing your studies at the College of Law, right here at the University of Saskatchewan, you are truly embarking on a challenging and fulfilling journey. And this is not just to pass your law exams, but it is truly to continue the efforts to make this country and to make this world a better place. So once again, on my own behalf and on behalf of the judges of our court, I wish to congratulate you and wish you all the best on your journey.
The College of Law is part of a larger academic institution, the University of Saskatchewan, and I'm pleased to introduce this afternoon Patty McDougall, who's the Vice Provost Teaching and Learning of the University of Saskatchewan. She's been actively engaged in this role in developing interdisciplinary programming and experiential learning opportunities in the humanities and social sciences, and she's the recipient of a number of awards for teaching herself and for her commitment to the student experience. Her background is in developmental psychology, and she studies social relationships in childhood and adolescence, including such topics as friendship and social status, with a particular focus on studying the long-term impact of bullying and victimization. So I'm delighted to have Patty come and say a few words to you this afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you, Beth. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a distinct privilege for me to be here on behalf of the University of Saskatchewan to greet you and to take part in the first-year welcome ceremony. It's also, of course, an honor and a privilege to share the stage with such distinguished speakers and distinguished individuals in the legal profession. Might be the only non-lawyer to take the stage this afternoon, but I was sitting reflecting on the fact that everyone needs a good lawyer, no question. Everyone needs a good psychologist, no question. So I think there is a fit for me to be up here. I'll leave aside for one moment the fact that I'm a bullying expert, and I won't go into that realm. I'm pleased to take part in today's ceremony in which students will be expressing a commitment based on our learning charter. And I thought perhaps I would just take a few moments, the opportunity to give you some context about what this charter is about, so that you might understand the significance of the commitment that you hear and see today. About 7 years ago, the university produced what we call a foundational document on teaching and learning. And this foundational document sets out our goals and our aspirations across a wide spectrum of teaching and learning activities. One recommendation was that the university create either a set of guiding principles or maybe a student bill of rights. And the faculty group that took on the task didn't really like the idea of guiding principles because they thought that was just too generic. Similarly, the group felt that a student bill of rights didn't quite fit the need because it seemed overly one-sided. So early in their work, the group hit on this concept of a charter, and it took off from there. And the idea was to create something that would reflect our underlying belief that learning works best when all partners are working together, where there is a common goal or set of goals. Our learning charter maps out graduate attributes. What is it that every University of Saskatchewan student will be capable of when they graduate? And the learning charter maps out commitments, as Dean Bilson said, responsibilities for students, for faculty, and for the institution as a whole. It turned out that no one else in Canada, at least at that time, had endeavored to create a learning charter. And of course, we like that. We like to be in that starting position. After widespread consultation, the learning charter that we have today was resoundingly approved by our academic governance body. And here at the University of Saskatchewan, many of you will know, many of your graduates, we have a lot of very smart people with amazing ideas, and we are the best at writing clever documents like the Learning Charter. So even though we all agreed that having a Learning Charter was a good idea, people wondered, I think quietly, whether it would really matter, whether it would change anything about how we do business. So I would say that our Learning Charter continues to matter, and it will change how we work together, if we treat it like a living, breathing document, if we let it inspire our activities. And in many of our colleges, this has meant that faculty members tie course and program learning outcomes directly to the goals that are listed in the Charter, just as the College of Law has done. Standing here today as part of the ceremony wherein our first-year law students are going to make a commitment to their learning experience is a sign that the Charter makes a difference and is alive and well. So I offer my thanks to the Dean, Beth Bilson, to my colleagues in the College of Law, particularly Professor Heather Heaven, who I know is responsible for crafting the pledge, at least the beginnings, starting the crafting of the pledge that students make today. And I'm very grateful for this meaningful shout out to our Learning Charter. And finally, on behalf of the university and alongside the College of Law, I offer you the commitment from the university's place within that Learning Charter. I commit to you that we will provide opportunities to the first year class. To ensure quality in what we have to offer, I commit to you that we will continue to build the appropriate environment and to support your learning. My very best wishes for an extraordinary first year. Thank you.
So our keynote speaker this afternoon is Dan Shapiro, QC, who is also a graduate of the college from 1978. He is a member of the Law Society of Saskatchewan and the Law Society of Alberta and became a QC in 1996. He's appeared as counsel at all levels of court in Saskatchewan and Alberta and has been very active in legal organizations. His recent experience has been as the chief adjudicator for the residential schools adjudication process, which is at the moment winding down, but he's been involved in that for some years now, and I look forward to hearing what Dan has to say.
Thank you very much, Dean Bilson. Justice Gable, Chief Judge Plemmel, honored guests, alumni, and especially the first-year class. I really am honored to have been invited by Dean Bilson to speak here today. And I first want to begin by wishing the first-year class a very warm welcome to the storied College of Law at the University of Saskatchewan. You are embarking on a journey that will lead you to a law degree from a top-notch, internationally respected law school, a school that has produced more than its share of prominent Canadians, including Federal Cabinet Minister Otto Lang, Federal Cabinet Minister and Governor General Raina Tishon, and of course, Prime Minister John Diefenbaker. Not to let that put any pressure on you of any kind. But you are among a handful of successful candidates chosen from a very large and accomplished field of applicants. And today you stand at an exciting turning point in your careers. And the sense of occasion that this new welcoming ceremony brings, I think, is entirely fitting. You are cause for celebration, not only for the legal communities and the academic communities, but especially for your families who are here today and who are deservedly very proud of you and your accomplishments. I too would like to acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 traditional lands and in the Métis heartland. The Aboriginal character of these beautiful lands on the banks of the South Saskatchewan River, on which the university is perched, permeates and enriches all of our lives, and in my view is especially fundamental to the lives of the university and the College of Law. I also want to acknowledge the blessing of Elder Maria Campbell, who inspired one of my all-time favorite songs, Maria's Place, Batosh, by Connie Calder. And I thank you for that blessing. So The theme for my talk is what the College of Law and a law degree meant to me, and what it can mean to you. I recognize that these are the views of only one gray-haired alum, but the beauty of the legal education is that you will get to choose, you will get to base the decisions from which you will chart your own course, decide how these law school years will shape you, how they will shape your life. And I encourage you to remain open to paths that might not be obvious to you at this very moment, to recognize and to seize opportunities when they arise, and to embrace the unexpected. A law degree will be an invaluable asset to you, whichever path you take. 40 years ago last week, I began my first year at the College of Law. A long-haired 19-year-old freshly moved from York University in Toronto with my then girlfriend, now my wife, to embark on a new adventure, little knowing that Saskatoon would become our home for the next 4 decades at least, where we would study and work and raise our 2 boys. And to paint a bit of a picture, in September 1975, law school tuition fees were $600 a year. We lived in a beautiful downtown apartment at the princely rent of $85 a month. And Doug Schmeiser, who is a criminal and constitutional law expert, was dean. It was a young professor by the name of Peter McKinnon taught law for the first time. He was my criminal law professor in first year. Peter went on to have a distinguished career as dean of the law school, and ultimately a long-serving president of the university. Beth Bilson, bound for stardom as a labor relations and administrative law guru, was a year ahead of me. And ultimately, of course, Beth rose to the ranks of dean of the college and is doing a wonderful job, has done that on many occasions. Unbeknownst to my classmate, Professor Wiegers, Wanda Wiegers, I don't know if she's here today, I haven't seen her. She was en route to parlaying her participation in my study group into a brilliant career as a law professor. But there was more. Roger Carter had just inaugurated the Native Law Center, which over the years continues to mentor Aboriginal students from across the country, preparing them and inspiring them for a legal education. The Native Law Center quickly became and remains an institution of which I am very proud. Excuse me. In short, it was an exciting time and it was a stimulating time. I can't say what the secret of success for you will be. I can say that the secret to whatever sparse academic success I enjoyed was in surrounding myself with brilliant people. And I was in a study group with 3 women, and I'm pleased to report that 3 of the 4 of us finished in the top 10. The fact that I wasn't one of them does not, in my view, diminish the overall accomplishments of the group. I like to think my tort study notes were pivotal in propelling them into the winner's circle. But the study group was an opportunity, it was a great opportunity to learn to work together, to work collaboratively, and to challenge ourselves in our understanding of particular areas. I'm sorry. And these are skills that are beneficial to most careers. And the other big factor was it also provided at least one weekly opportunity for a nutritious meal. Being active in the social, political, and athletic life of the college, believe it or not, enriched my experience greatly. While the men's flag football team did not win many games, we did enjoy the distinction of fielding the only all-Jewish backfield of the day. I do encourage you to take in whatever the college has to offer, whether it's athletics, legal follies, law school, politics, the truly astonishing array of moot opportunities that are available now or otherwise. You will make lifelong friends. You've heard the other speakers talk of this. And they'll be both among your faculty, your first-rate faculty and your classmates. And it may sound trite, but I really do believe that the more you invest in the college, the greater the dividends you will reap. I also know that you can tap into the community of knowledge that exists here. I know of no faculty member, no classmate, no member of the legal profession that wouldn't gladly offer assistance, advice, and support. So don't hesitate to call on them. I vividly recall discussions in the very early days of law school with my classmates. It seems all of us vowed to become either land claims negotiators or legal aid lawyers. By the end of law school, some ended up choosing very different career paths. Corporate, tax, or real estate law, to name a few. One became justice minister and now labor minister for Saskatchewan. Several ended up as judges in Saskatchewan and elsewhere. Some went on to distinguished academic careers. One became the longtime and current president of the Métis National Council. So one of the myths about a legal education is that it is a dry, rote exercise in memorizing and applying long-established laws. Far from it. Yes, it is true, legal training will develop your knowledge and your analytical skills, but it will also nurture the creative side of your brain. Lawyers are among the most creative, resourceful thinkers I know. I thought I would become a criminal lawyer, and I started down that path at the Saskatoon Legal Aid Clinic before a labor disruption ended my articles there. I was fortunate enough to have been able to continue my articles and complete them with my U of S contracts and real estate professor, Garth Sandstrom. As it could not have been argued that I excelled in either contracts or real estate in law school, I would not have imagined that within a week of being called to the bar, I would be an active co-counsel in a lengthy Queen's Bench trial involving a commercial real estate dispute. And to my great surprise, I discovered I enjoyed commercial and later tort litigation. And I practiced extensively in the civil courts for 25 years, ultimately specializing in the fascinating area of medical malpractice before shifting my practice to alternative dispute resolution, mediation, and arbitration, mainly labor arbitration. But I do not regret for a minute the time spent in my litigation practice. It led to my appointment by the Superior Court of Ontario as an arbitrator under the Hepatitis C class action settlement, and starting in 2003, adjudicating Indian residential school abuse claims. As Dean Bilson pointed out, in July 2013, I became chief adjudicator of the Indian Residential School Secretariat, succeeding two distinguished alumni of the College of Law who held that job. Ted Hughes, who was a former Saskatchewan Queen's Bench judge and Deputy Attorney General of British Columbia, and Dan Ish, a longtime professor and dean at the College of Law. And it is interesting to me that the University of Saskatchewan has produced many of the accomplished and experienced adjudicators within a process designed to redress historic wrongs inflicted on tens of thousands of Aboriginal Canadians throughout the country who have sought compensation for abuse suffered at residential schools. With over 100 adjudicators from coast to coast to coast and a staff of 275 in offices in Ottawa, Winnipeg, Vancouver, and a head office in Regina, few would have imagined that Saskatchewan would play such a central role in the resolution of these issues. Yet it makes perfect sense, given that Saskatchewan was at the very epicenter of the failed residential school experience, and that the Native Law Centre and the College of Law at the University of Saskatchewan helped to uniquely equip Saskatchewan lawyers to address one of the darkest chapters in our shared history. My point to you is simply this. I could not have imagined that the litigation career path I started on would have led me to the residential school work, which has been the most meaningful and important work in my life. I could comfortably have remained a medical malpractice or a civil litigator for the rest of my career. But leaving myself open to a dramatic career change to become immersed in a once-in-a-lifetime project of historic magnitude, to play a role in a process that makes a real difference in people's lives, led me to this incredible opportunity. The Indian Residential School Settlement Agreement is the product of negotiations brokered by a retired Supreme Court of Canada Justice Frank Iacobucci. Those negotiations resulted in the largest class action settlement in Canadian history. The settlement has 5 elements, including the creation of the Secretariat, of which I'm the chief adjudicator, which administers the Independent Assessment Process, or IAP. The settlement is unique in the world in attempting to comprehensively redress historic wrongs perpetrated by the state and churches against Aboriginal children. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission, or TRC, is the public education side of the settlement agreement. The IAP that I work with is the private, confidential, reparations side of the settlement agreement for those who allege that they suffered sexual abuse or serious physical abuse at residential schools. Wrongs need to be righted. As the Royal Commission on Aboriginal Peoples stated, there can be no peace or harmony until there is justice. I agree that reconciliation may not be achieved because of compensation, but I would argue that it cannot be achieved without it. Although our tribunal was set up to deal with an estimated 12,500 claims over 5 years, in fact, we received close to 38,000 claims out of roughly 80,000 residential school survivors at the time of the settlement that were alive. 5,000 plus claims remain to be addressed. We meet with one student at a time, attempting to provide a forum for reconciliation and, in some cases, intergenerational healing through our hearings. Whatever the legal result, we are a claimant-centered process, and there is a powerful potential for transformative change when individuals have their experiences heard, validated, and respected. And in many cases, they hear heartfelt messages of apology that they thought they would never hear from representatives of the Government of Canada or the churches that operated the schools. I have been honored to bear witness to experiences of great harm, but equally have been inspired by the determination of many of the former students to lead their lives in the present, to choose not to allow the abuses, neglect, and loneliness they experienced at residential school to define themselves. Many have spoken with great warmth and humor, have found resilience and redemption, and in some cases, very generously have expressed forgiveness. And they have taught us something important if we didn't know it before. In the words of the former executive director of our Secretariat, Dr. Akiva Starkman, perhaps the most compelling lesson to be learned from the independent assessment process and from the thousands of individual histories that it has generated is an unfortunate truth. When vulnerable people are placed in an institutional setting without any personal power or without someone to speak for them or protect them, there is a high risk that they will be victimized. The experience of Indian residential schools was in many ways exceptional in scale and scope, affecting as it has generations of Aboriginal peoples. But the examples of institutional abuse are legion and unfortunately ongoing. Therefore, it is important not only to provide reparations for the Indian residential school experience, but to learn from it, to protect the vulnerable members of society, to accept diversity and resist institutional pressures for conformity, to guard against imbalances of social power, and to be skeptical of demands to cede voice and independence and freedoms. And as Dr. Starkman points out, in fact, there seem to be no end of historic wrongs of this sort in need of redress. A settlement was recently approved to compensate for abuse at the Nova Scotia School for Colored Children, which operated in that province for 30 years, up to the 1980s. Claims of abuse by former students in schools for the deaf or other disabilities continue to abound. Class action settlements for former students in federal Indian day schools has now been certified. The 60 scoop claims that have recently been filed will require creative solutions that lawyers will play a key role in shaping. These are only a few examples of vulnerable groups who will be depending on you to help shed light on their experiences. The settlement agreement has not fixed the legacy of residential schools, and perhaps most of the work towards reparation and reconciliation still lies ahead. But the agreement does represent a fascinating example of what can be accomplished through a concerted effort by Aboriginal leaders, government and church representatives, and by residential school survivors who share their histories. All of those groups played a vital role, but it was lawyers who brought their legal experience and creativity to the table to design this unique process and then to put flesh on the bones by building the structures through which it would be administered. Without the benefit of a law degree and a career that was born of that degree, I and most of my colleagues would never have had the opportunity to meet and play a role in redressing the historic wrongs committed against the inspirational former students whose stories we have been privileged to hear. The practice of law, even in the most traditional firms, is changing, and no matter what path you choose, your career will be unlike those of my generation. So whether you end up in a large law firm, a government office, or take a non-traditional path, your law degree is your starting point. I have worked with many people who have law degrees but who have never practiced law, yet they are highly valued for their analytical skills, their creativity and sound judgment that are the end result of a quality legal education. They are law teachers, editors, writers, and policy advisors at the highest levels of government, corporations, and other organizations throughout the country. Some of you, I am sure, will blaze new trails towards more humane, safe, respectful, affordable, and holistic methods of dispute resolution. The Chief Justice of Canada and many others have told us repeatedly that our traditional approaches to litigation are no longer sustainable. But whatever career path you chart for yourself, there is so much urgently important work to be done by your generation of lawyers in restoring relationships between Canada's Indigenous peoples and the rest of the country. And you will need to do a much better job than those who came before you if we are to resolve the urgent social and economic conditions that result in the shocking disproportion of Aboriginal children in care and of Aboriginal youth and adults in jail, the missing and murdered Aboriginal women and girls, the lack of educational opportunities on reserves, and the terrible suicide rates in some Aboriginal communities. As former AFN National Chief Phil Fontaine said at the time of the release of the TRC recommendations, there will never be a reconciliation between Canada and its Aboriginal peoples as long as those socioeconomic imbalances remain. And I note that of the Truth and Reconciliation's 94 calls to action, more than half of them relate to the law in some way. That puts a lot of burden on you, but I'm confident that you're up to the challenge. Recommendation number 28 is specifically aimed at law schools and calls upon all law students to take a course in Aboriginal people and the law. Dean Bilson and President Stoichkov are taking leadership roles in achieving this crucial objective, and you will be right at the heart of this initiative and many other social and legal justice issues. What are these other compelling legal and social questions that you will be called upon to address? The only certainty in the answer to that is that these will continue to evolve, but they will include issues of criminal law, both on the defense and prosecution sides, ongoing family law challenges as the definitions of marriage, parenthood, surrogacy, and family obligations generally continue to develop, physician-assisted suicide issues flowing from the Supreme Court of Canada's decision earlier this year in the Carter case, not to mention the serious challenges to access to justice and the huge growth in litigation flowing from the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which, by the way, did not come into effect until 1982, 4 years after I graduated law school. In addition, all manner of alternative dispute resolution techniques have created out-of-court practice opportunities for you right out of the gate that didn't exist in the time that I graduated. There's a burgeoning area of privacy law associated with the proliferation of digital technologies, and of course, expansion in immigration and refugee work, where lawyers will continue to play a pivotal role. And this is just a small sampling of the incredible scope of public and private law opportunities that will open up to you. More importantly, as other speakers have pointed out, but it is very true, you will create your own opportunities if you remain open to the possibilities that lay before you. So if I can leave you with one message, it is this: don't be fixated on an image of what your legal career will be like. Be flexible. Be open to inspiration from people and issues around you, and seize opportunities that may take you by surprise. Put yourself out there. You won't regret it. In closing, I welcome you to the first year of the College of Law. A law degree is a pathway into an honorable profession, but can be much more than that, as much as you will allow. It will open doors for you that you would not have thought possible. And while there is undeniably much hard work and stress ahead of you, the college has many resources in place to ensure your success, to help you explore the issues about which you are passionate or merely curious, and to maximize your potential. It is well worth the investment. I wish you every success as you embark on this adventure, and I will watch with great interest for what I am sure will be your remarkable contributions to our profession and to our country. Thank you.
So we're fortunate this afternoon to have with us the university's Amati Quartet. The university is the proud owner of a collection of Amati string instruments, and the quartet is going to play for us now. Thank you very much. That was really nice. And now I would like to ask our cloakers to take the stage, please. You all found your sign. All right. So I'd like to introduce the cloakers briefly. This is a very high-powered group of students, staff, and alumni of the college. On my far left, Leah Bitternose, who is a graduate of the college with both an undergraduate degree and a master's degree. She's from the Gordon First Nation in Treaty 4 territory. Leah is a sole practitioner who specializes in treaty and Aboriginal law with an office on the English River Urban First Nation. Dusty Ernewine is the president of our Aboriginal Law Students Association. He's a third-year law student. He's of Métis descent and is very interested in criminal and Aboriginal law and hopes to practice in those areas. Dusty has been one of the students who's been working at our Inner-City Law Clinic Classic. Paul Fedorov is the president of our Law Students Association, and this fall he's actually receiving his Bachelor of Arts at the fall convocation. He's also in third-year law and has been very actively involved in student politics, both in arts and science and in law, and in 2016 he'll be articling at McDougall-Golly. Maureen Fryatt has spent her legal career in the labor movement. She worked as an international union representative for the Service Employees International Union for 17 years, and in 2014 she joined the University of Saskatchewan Faculty Association as a professional officer. Michelle Halverson, and this is someone whose face you should commit to memory. Michelle has been on the College of Law's administrative staff since 1989, first in the Faculty Support Office, and she currently works in the Student Services area. Over those 26 years, she's worked in various capacities throughout the college, including facilitating fundraisers and supporting student success. Michelle is also an active volunteer who's volunteered her time for the Canadian Cancer Society. She's always trying to badger people into taking part in that heart and stroke mega bicycle thing, and the Canadian Lung Association. Brenda Hildebrand, you've already met. Darcy McGovern is the Director of Legislative Services in the Saskatchewan Ministry of Justice. He has a Bachelor of Arts in History and a Bachelor of Laws, both from the University of Saskatchewan. He began working as a barrister and solicitor at Halleck Brent Dovell in 1987, and shortly after that joined Saskatchewan Justice. Sharon Pratchler is also works in the Ministry of Justice in the Constitutional Law branch. She graduated from the College of Law with a combined Commerce and Law degree and has been a litigator throughout her career. Ashley Smith is also a graduate of the college. She articled with the Court of Queen's Bench in Saskatoon. She clerked at the Federal Court of Canada in Ottawa and got a master's degree from Osgoode Hall Law School. She's been an associate of the Saskatoon office of McPherson, Leslie, and Tyerman LLP since then. Ashley is also one of our moot coaches and has been the coach of our very successful Western Canada moot team. So I would like to welcome our students who will be now proceeding across the stage. They are going to stop and tell you who they are and where they come from, and then they are going to be invested with a with a cloak by our distinguished cloaking group. Go ahead.
Eric Agri, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Faraz Akhtar, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Griffin Anderson, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Jamie Anton, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
When I told you they came from all over the country.
Fiona Balaton, Calgary, Alberta.
Jeremy Barber, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Matthew Barnes, Medicine Hat, Alberta.
Davida Bentham, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Barbara Louise Bergman, Whitehorse, Yukon.
Deidre Brandt, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Nicole Bree, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Ashton Brame, Eston, Saskatchewan.
Ryland Bridge, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Shane Buchanan, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Spencer Bunshu, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Taylor Bush, Williams Lake, BC.
Brendan Campbell, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Chelsea Campbell, Kamsack, Saskatchewan.
Tristan Campbell, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Zachary Carter, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Dean Cho, Abbotsford, BC.
Harrison Clark, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Curtis Clavel, Viscount, Saskatchewan.
Anthony Climenhaga, Delisle, Saskatchewan.
Merritt Coutu, Prince Albert, Saskatchewan.
Jordan Crawford, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Matthew Dahl, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Lisa Morin, Prince Albert, Saskatchewan.
Jesse Donovan, Vancouver, British Columbia.
Matt Drake, Calgary, Alberta.
Clyde Drover, Port Perry, Ontario.
Darcy Dumont, Laflèche, Saskatchewan.
Robin Ermine, Sturgeon Lake First Nation, Saskatchewan.
Latoya Farrell, Edmonton, Alberta.
Chelsea Fielding, Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan.
Liam Fitzgerald, Swift Current, Saskatchewan.
Thomas Francoux, North Battleford, Saskatchewan.
Brandon Friesen, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Aaron Fritzler, Lumsden, Saskatchewan.
Andrew Gaucher, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Derek Gianoli, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Cody Genie, Pride of Ormiston, Saskatchewan.
Gurpreet Gill, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Daniel Graba, North Battleford, Saskatchewan.
Nolan Hand, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Houston Hazelar, Medicine Hat, Alberta.
Lindsay Yorth, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Blair Hogkirk, Vancouver, British Columbia.
Matthew Holtzhausen, Battleford, Saskatchewan.
May Virginia Houle, Big Stone Cree Nation, Wabasca, Alberta.
Chanel Hudson, Weyburn, Saskatchewan.
Arfa Hussein, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Taryn Impey, Prince Albert, Saskatchewan.
Christina Judge, Victoria, BC.
Katrina Kaiser-Derrick, Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Brett Karwandi, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Daniel Catesman, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
John Kim, Morris, Saskatchewan.
Emily Kirk, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Lindsay Nibbs, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Brady Knight, McDonald, Manitoba.
Megan LaSalle, Cadillac, Saskatchewan.
Haley Lingelbaugh, Estevan, Saskatchewan.
Dustin Link, Prince Albert, Saskatchewan.
Liam Liston, St. Albert, Alberta.
Jeff Littlewood, Richmond, BC.
Sarah Lowen, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Nicholas Lusick, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Kimball McMillan, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Connor Malone, Camrose, Alberta.
John Mansbridge, Prince Albert, Saskatchewan.
Kristen Martinick, Yorkton, Saskatchewan.
Kevin Massey, Vancouver, BC.
Joel McClarty, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Dan McDonald, St. Albert, Alberta.
Mark Milanetti, Mississauga, Ontario.
Kristen Miller-Tate, North Vancouver, BC.
Kaylee Mitchell, Regina, Saskatchewan.
AJ Mokelke, Lloydminster, Alberta, Saskatchewan.
Paige Moorside, Regina.
Attila Nadori, Calgary, Alberta.
Alexa Pashevitz, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Matthew Pasqua, Pasque First Nation, Saskatchewan.
Drew Pearson, Beaver Lodge, Alberta.
Andrea Phillips, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Patrick Pichet, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Braden Pivnick, Calgary, Alberta.
Teague Pushor, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Feroz Rahimi, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Aiden Ritter, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Rachel Roach, Nanaimo, BC.
Nicholas Rahachuk, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Emmett Roof, Yorkton, Saskatchewan.
JC Safnick, Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. Anna Sambrook, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Joel Sander, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Alexandra Santos, Edmonton, Alberta.
Laura Sayer, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Tanner Schroe, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Tamana Siddiqui, Vancouver, BC.
Audrey Sembalaris, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Justine Schenner, Clavette, Saskatchewan.
Andrew Showalter, Métis Nation, Okotoks, Alberta.
Brad Smith, Vancouver, BC.
Ali Sparks, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Sierra Sparrow, Vanscoy, Saskatchewan.
Desiree Steele, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Jeff Sumick, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Anthony Thera, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Emily Tillman, Tabor, Alberta.
Derek Tucker, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Matthew Thomas, the Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Lauren Trauchy, North Beautiful.
Jaron Tukshire, Humboldt, Saskatchewan.
Adam Unick, Calgary, Alberta.
Paige Vandeslype, Weyburn, Saskatchewan.
Will Vavris, Outlook, Saskatchewan.
Shayla Verma, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Madison Walls, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Kristen Wang, Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Carson Wetter, Castro, Alberta.
Joanne Weep, Vancouver, BC. Claire Wiley McCashin, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Cole Wilson, Lloydminster, Alberta.
Danielle Uzdebski, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Genja, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Valerie Zink, Springbank, Alberta.
I'd like to thank our cloakers. I think we found them something to do more complicated than law school. We need... And they didn't have very much training, so... Thank you. So if I could, when the cloakers have gone by, if I could ask the first year students to stand. And I'd like you to repeat the student commitment after me. As a law student of the University of Saskatchewan College of Law, I will, to the best of my ability, conduct myself with integrity and demonstrate ethical behavior. In my dealings with other students, faculty, and staff. Actively engage in the learning process. Thoughtfully consider on the basis of evidence. A diversity of theories, ideas, beliefs. And approaches to problems and solutions. Undertake my university work. In accordance with principles of academic integrity. Engage in a respectful way with members of the university community. Including other students, staff, faculty. Representatives of the institution and its partners. Value diversity and the positive contributions it brings. To the University of Saskatchewan, the College of Law, and society as a whole. Commit to sharing the knowledge and skills I will acquire. Through the study of law by positively contributing to society. Locally, nationally, or globally. So you can sit down now. So thank you all very much, and congratulations to the first year class of the College of Law. There will be a reception following this, which takes place conveniently for you in the same space. Just before that, there's a quick announcement for the members of the first year class. I've been asked to ask you to join our photographer, David Stobie, outside the front of this building so that you can have a group photo taken. Think Christmas presents. So after your photos are complete, please drop off your gowns at the entrance to the bookstore downstairs, and then you can come back up here for the reception. During the reception, we will be presenting a series of entrance scholarships to students who have distinguished themselves by their academic achievements. So I hope you'll all be able to stay for that. And thank you all for coming to this ceremony.